Welcome to A Man's Perspective. Today, I'm going to be having a conversation with my cousin Erica, and y'all know Izzy. We've noticed over the past few episodes that mental health has been an issue that's been coming up a lot. So today, we decided to really dive into it, and both my cousin and Izzy are mental health advocates. They go around to different churches speaking. They're part of United in Him Motorcycle Ministry. So we're going to have a conversation, and we hope that it benefits everybody that's watching. Erika, Izzy, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
You want to tell us a little bit about the motorcycle ministry you're a part of?
I'm the secretary of United in Him Motorcycle Ministry. I got involved with them because they were going into the juvenile halls, and it's something I wanted to be a part of. I used to be a youth leader at a local church, but I wanted to reach kids with more problems, more issues, and I met the president of the ministry on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
I went to high school with his cousin, and I would see how they would just joke around on Facebook, and I started asking questions, and we became friends on Facebook. But then one day, I always saw that they would post Harleys and they would post the motorcycles, and I've always liked them because I've always liked Harleys.
Well, you got a Harley now. So
Yeah. But I saw that he posted their vest, and it was a cross. And I'm like, oh, you guys are Christian? And so I reached out to them, and he's like, yeah, we go into the juvenile halls, and that's when I wanted to become a part of that.
Wow.
So I went to my first meeting with them. I went to the juvenile hall, Los Padrinos. I think they're in Downey.
Yeah.
And they invited us into the girls' dorms to speak to the girls there, and I went in, and I was, okay, this is where I need to be.
Wow.
I wanted to do that.
That's fantastic. Is that the first time that you was at Los Padrinos? I know you spoke at juvenile halls. Was that the first time, Izzy, you spoke over there?
No, you have to be 21 in order to go to the juvenile halls and talk to the kids. So I wasn't 21 yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I would go with my mom to like the breakfasts and stuff like that. I didn't like to be around the ministry when I first joined, or she first started going around. I used to get so angry and stuff like that.
Angry? Why?
I don't know. I didn't want to be there. I was kind of like, what's the word? Like I just didn't want to be there. I was kind of like, rebelling.
It's always challenging when you're around people that want to help you, because a lot of times when we're traumatized, we want to hide. We want to be away from all that because we're afraid that people are going to see the word trauma on our forehead. And so when we're around people that just love us and want to be there for us, sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating. I wonder if maybe that's something you were going through?
I think too is because in my journey of healing, I've always sought the Lord. I always try to find different churches and different people, and we moved around. We're in and out, and in church, out of church, in church, out of church. Bounced around. And when I finally found the ministry, I found a group of people that accepted me with all my flaws. If you get to know the people in the ministry, like they look like they're rough.
I've seen some of them. Yeah.
But man, when you get close to them, they're like, they're so welcoming, so loving, so receiving. They're real. They're rough around their edges. They've been broken themselves, and they've been healed. In their faith. And so I think Isabel was kind of like, oh my God, what is my mom taking me to now? And she was kind of judging, like, oh, maybe the kids were a little bit intimidated because they do look like, But they're beautiful people.
When I first met them, I told my mom I didn't want to be around a biker gang. That's what they looked like. They looked like a bunch of like just big old mean, nasty men. Then it turns out they're some of like the best people we've been around.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Really have become family for us.
Yeah, like I told Izzy last time, some of those guys look like, man, they'll rip their own arms off and then, tell you, let's go. It's like they're not afraid of anything.
So. And you know what? They will fight for us. They've become especially the founder, Pastor Tony. He's a father figure for me.
Wow.
And he's we'll get into it later on in the conversation, but I've cried in his arms. Wow. And he just held me and just let me cry, and he's prayed for me. Oh, that man means a lot to me.
Wow, that's fantastic. It's so funny because a lot of times we have especially in our culture, we're Latinos, we're brought up that family is everything. Family. You got to live and die by your family. a lot of times, though, family can be other people outside of our bloodline, can be other people that truly love us unconditionally, not just my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my mom, my dad. Sometimes, and in doing the work that I do, sometimes I see that families are detrimental, man. Families can be devastating to people. So, yeah, it's awesome that you found other people that love you like family.
Amen.
It's fantastic. All right, well, what we do here, we ask questions, and then, as you already know, she's part of the format. She's part of formatting this. But what we do here is we print up some questions. I ask you those questions, and then we'll see where the conversation leads us. Cool. All right. Okay. First question: can you share a bit about your journey through trauma and how it has impacted both of you individually and as a family?
You want to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess I can start with my story, and then because it kind of correlates with hers. You know, when I was a kid, I was sexually abused by an uncle, and because of that, when I first came out with it, a lot of family didn't believe me. They were kind of, I didn't have the support. And I felt very empty. I didn't get even counseling. I didn't go to counseling. I never got the help for it. So I tried to navigate through those emotions on my own. And when I was 18, I met Isabel's dad, who he was abusive. There was one story that I shared, and just to give you an idea of how he was abusive. There was one Christmas where, he was the smallest of the brothers. He was the shortest, the tiniest. So they used to all pick on him. He had a lot of brothers. They used to all pick on him. And one Christmas we were there at his house. He had a bunch of little nephews, and we had gotten all the little boys remote control cars, and they were making fun of him, and he got upset because it was funny. I can't remember what was said, but I was laughing. And he went to get one of the cars, and he tore the antenna off, and he slapped me across the face with the antenna, and it's whoosh. And all his family like gasped at the same time. And it was humiliating. Yeah. But that was the kind of life that I lived with him. But because of what I went through as a child, I didn't know how to value myself or love myself enough. To me, abuse was normal because it happened so much as a kid. Yeah. When I I had her at a year after I left, I had her is when I left her dad. There came a point where he was going to kill me. I saw it in his face. We had separated. He had been cheating on me. We had separated, and I had gone out with the sister-in-law. I came home. I didn't even want to go out, but she's like, come on, stop crying. Let's just go out. So I went to go have a couple of drinks at Applebee's. I came home, and he was waiting for me. And he got out of the car, and he's like, oh, look at how cute you look drunk. And he threw me on the floor. Well, there was a pole, from the garage door. There was the side, the iron things that hold it up. It was broken. So he got that one, and he told me, he's like, this is where you end. And he was going to stab me with it. The look in his eyes, I even thought like, oh my God, this is it. This is where it's going to end. And my sister-in-law at that time, she screamed like, leave her alone. I started screaming the top of her lungs, and that scared him. And that's why he stopped. But I truly believe that if she wasn't there, he was gonna kill me. After that, I decided I can't do this anymore. I need to, for the sake of my daughter, I need to leave because it was tough. After that, I began drug abuse. I was broken inside. I started using methamphetamine, to kind of I don't know, I guess you could say mask the pain. Also, I wanted to lose weight, because he had poured so much into me that I was fat and nobody would ever love me. Nobody would ever want me the way that I was. And I believed the lies, and because of the abuse, it led, or because of the drug abuse, it led to me losing my kids. I had 2 more kids after that. I met another man, and I had 2 more kids after that. And I was with him for 13 years, but he was also, he was an alcoholic. He wasn't very, very supportive. Good. It wasn't a good relationship. It was a very toxic relationship also. So through my journey, and I look back now and I see how all these relationships were because of the lack of healing from what happened when I was a kid, that I stayed in toxic relationships. I stayed in abusive relationships because I didn't know how to change that cycle, how to break that, Yeah. And through my journey, I've discovered that, I'm still in the process of healing, and it's still a process. But
yeah, I think healing is something that's a lifelong thing.
Definitely.
I don't think, you do this and all of a sudden, wow, you're healed. I think it's a lifelong process that you go through, and every day it just becomes a little bit easier. Every day you become a little bit stronger. Every day you find ways to teach and help, which in turn teaches and helps you. So yeah, it's a lifelong process. We're never going to be done healing.
Definitely not.
What about you, Izzy? What how has your journey through things that happened to you affected your relationship with the family?
Well, when I was younger, I shared last week what happened to me on the podcast. Um, I feel like for me growing up, it was it was toxic, and stuff. But I tried to shield like my siblings from that as much as I could.
Yeah.
I felt like I became like their second mom because, I was trying to just like protect them. And, I feel after I came out about what happened to me and stuff like that, I feel like that's really where my healing began because I went through so many emotions. Anger was the main one. Even now, I still find myself very irritable at times.
Yeah.
And, like you said, it's a lifelong process. And so I'm still going through that, still trying to figure out how to use what I learned in therapy and use what I've learned with my faith to try and heal and stuff.
Right now, you said that you felt like the a surrogate mom or the second mom. I noticed that that's a common thing amongst the oldest children. They always tend to pick up uh, parent-like responsibilities. Did you ever like talk to anybody about that? Just confront your mom about that, or say anything?
My therapist, when I had my therapist, we talked about that, how I was parentified. That's like the word that is
Really,
used.
that's like the formal word for
Yeah,
that.
parentified.
I had
And
no idea.
that's
No
yeah.
Me
idea.
either.
I didn't know there was an actual word for it. I
Yeah.
just thought it was a phenomenon that happens in families.
No, yeah, that's actually a word that's the formal word for it that she used. It was basically, like you said, picking up the responsibilities or not responsibility, not the full responsibilities, but
Yeah, yeah, some,
helping
yeah,
up. Like my mom, had always had to work 2, 3 jobs, so I was, with the kids, helping with them, picking up my sister from school and stuff like that, taking her, also yeah,
And this was after I left the kid's dad. She did help me a lot during that time too because I didn't really have anybody to count on. I couldn't count on him. He would come home every day and he was drunk. He would started with a 3-pack and it escalated to a 6-pack and then a 12-pack. And by the time I left him, he was drinking an 18-pack a day. So yeah, he was drinking a lot. So it was a very, very toxic relationship. And she stepped up and I would ask, can you do this for me? Can you help me with this? Can you do this for me? But I left him when she was, how old were you when I left him?
13, 14.
14 years old when I
14.
finally left him. The other 2 kids were younger. So because it was tough, because he would not help me at all. I would have to work 2 jobs. I worked like my full-time job during the day, and then at night I'd go JCPenney's. Or I did Amazon, I delivered for Amazon. In the evenings, I've always tried to do what I can,
yeah.
as a single mom.
I remember because I'm the oldest too, and I remember holding a lot of resentment about that because I too had to take care of my little brothers and sisters. And then when I looked back in history, and when you look back like late 1800s, even into the early 1900s, the almost always the oldest kid did become the parent because
I think that's in our culture too,
Well,
Oh,
I think it's an economic thing because people just in general, just in general, people were poor, and parents were always working 18 hours on the farm, getting up before the sun came up to tend to
Right.
the animals, and the mom was also up before the sun came up to make the food, tend to the garden, and they would come home after dark, and the oldest kid usually had to take care of all of that stuff. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I've noticed once I realized that, once I saw that, wow, this is not new. This is not. I thought, oh my God, it's just me. Whoa, whoa. Once I realized, oh my God, no, this is like a human species thing. Like we all tend to rely on the oldest to take up a lot of the responsibilities of raising the family because we're poor, because we're working in modern time 2, 3 jobs now. So yeah, that helped me to deal with that, because I was angry at my mom for a while for that too. So that helped me with that. All right. So question number 2: are there any particular scriptures, prayers, or teachings that have been especially meaningful to you in finding strength and hope?
Sure. I have a couple.
Okay, what are they?
My biggest one that I have it tattooed on me is he heals the wounds of every shattered heart. Psalms 147:3.
Wow.
That one, I think before I got it tattooed on me, right before I had told my mom about what happened and, came out to her. Before that, there was this, in the youth that we were in, a part of a church, we had some youth leaders, and they basically adopted us into their family. They had, and one of them, the mother of one of them, so she treated us like we were her grandkids.
Wow.
And, she was always like giving us things, just always with us. The love, yeah. And so after she passed away in 2017, I really like struggled because I thought, I had like that grandma figure that I really wanted. So that scripture helped me a lot through what I was going through with losing her, and just not. And then around that time too, I was going through like the depression, and and then a few years after that, I think like right when I got this tattooed, I think the month before I got after I got this tattooed on me is when I told my mom about what happened and everything. And so that scripture stayed with me for like even that it was word resonated with me even more, because that scripture helped me through having to go through all that again.
Wow. What about you?
For me, it was Psalms 46:5. It says, God is within her, she will not fall. I remember when Isabel told me what had happened, that was something that it blindsided me. I never expected that. Because it happened to me when I was a kid, the agreement between, so my kids were little when I got them taken away from me. I went through the system and did everything I had to do to get them back. Within a year, they were back home with me. One of the agreements between he and I were no one's gonna watch our kids. Now we're straight now, and I don't want anything to happen to, or what happened to me to happen to my kids. So it's only gonna be you and I watching them, so that.
Did you share that with him?
Yeah.
So he knew what happened.
He
to you?
knew what happened to me, and that was the agreement. That's why it was
God, that's
so. It
devastating.
was devastating because I trusted him with everything, which was my daughter, with my kids. And for him to go and betray me that way, and he was the one that was, the perpetrator. He was the one that was doing this. That broke me because I trusted him with everything. That, there's such manipulators. They can fool people. He was good at it. He was good at it.
I know.
And I remember one day when I was I think it was the day after or a couple of days after she had told me what had happened. I was in the shower, I was about to get in the shower, and I was like, I had gotten a tattoo right here. I said tattoos that says God is within her, she will not fall. And I was in the shower, turning the water on. I'm like, God, like, how am I gonna get through this? Like, how? I don't know how to do this. Not this. Yeah. And God reminded me, what does your tattoo say? And in my journey, I have seen that he has sustained me, that it's because of him that I haven't fallen. I haven't, crumbled. I've been close to it. There was even my boss at work had to tell me, okay, Eric, I'm sorry this happened, but you need to, it's affecting your work.
Yeah.
So I had to okay, switch it off, and I've always compartmentalized. I've always but this was hard to just push down. Yeah. You can do to me what you want to me, but you do something to my kids, and that's something that it's different. It hits different. And that's I have held on to that scripture and to over and over and over again, every time I see her, I would see her having a bad day. Every time I would want to just break down and cry. It was hard to move on or compartmentalize this when I would see her still in pain. You know, I would see her still struggling on a daily basis. You know, that was a hard journey.
Yeah, I can't. I can't. I one thing I know, and I've spoken to myself about this, and I've meditated and I prayed. And one thing that I don't know if I can survive is someone doing that to my kids. I think I'd probably be dead because I'd end up hurting a lot of people, and which would make people want to hurt me because I don't know how I would survive that. I honestly don't. So the fact that you're here and you're productive and you're talking about it and you're you're you know working through it is a miracle because I don't know if I could do that. I honestly don't know if I could do that.
Well, I have to. I wasn't given a choice. I had to do it because if
Well,
I
there's always a
didn't,
choice. You can just jump off a bridge,
but
and
then
you
we
chose
wouldn't
not
leave
to.
them.
I
I'm
know,
going
but
to add more pain to them.
I know, but you chose not to. So that's what I'm saying. It's a miracle that you're here doing this. I'm so impressed by you.
Thank you.
I'm so amazed because I honestly don't know how I could survive that. And I tell people all the time, or as much as I can. Did I ever tell you about my theory about the Spartans and how I've related that to my life?
Mm.
The Spartans were everyone refers to the Spartans because of the movie and the 300 at Thermopylae and all that. I was first introduced to the Spartans a long time ago, and they told me the story about how 300 soldiers held off 40,000 Persian soldiers. And I always thought at the time, it was just like mythology, folklore, because there's no way 300 people could hold off 40,000 people, maybe for like 5 minutes. When we can look at the riots now, and whenever 100 cops are done, in 5 minutes, they'll mow through 500 people. So I always thought it was just mythology and folklore. So I started looking and reading into them, and man, they were a brutal people. They were a brutal, brutal people. When the infants, they were born, they would be taken to it for inspection, and the elders would look at them. And if they had any flaws, they would be cast out, literally dropped into this valley to be eaten by wild animals.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and at 7, the boys were given basic survival skills and then tossed into the woods. And here's a spear, go survive. And they were allowed, they were by themselves in the woods. Well, not so, they formed little group bands together. But imagine 7 years old in the woods with a spear fighting for your life, fighting for food, and if you survive that, first you had to survive birth. Then you had to survive from 7 to 12 being in the woods by yourself. And if you survive that, now you were allowed to come into the city at 12 years old and run this gauntlet, like a maze of things to do. And that gauntlet was so hard that it would kill some of the boys. Some of the boys would die trying to run the gauntlet, but it was so impressing them that to be a citizen of Spartan was like the greatest reward ever. So they were willing to give their lives just to be considered a citizen of Sparta. So you had to survive birth. You had to survive from 7 to 12. You had to survive the gauntlet. And then now, if you survive the gauntlet, now you can start to become a citizen, a warrior. And the 12-year-old boys were given over to mentors who taught them how to be soldiers, how to be men of that era. And some atrocious things were done to them, atrocious. They were beaten, humiliated, assaulted sexually and all physically, all kinds of stuff. They were just, man, how they survived that is a miracle. But once they survived that and they became soldiers, the soldiers of Sparta, I had read things how armies would see Spartan soldiers and they would run away just because they knew how fierce these men were. I read stories in the movie. They show this one guy with 3 spears in him still killing people. I read real stories like that, how Spartan soldiers still fighting with swords and spears in them because death wasn't an option for them. Death was just like, well, that's just like drinking some water. It's just like death and retreat were not an option. So there's men, imagine if you're a warrior and you see this dude over here with 3 swords in him and he's still killing your people. Dude, that's so when I read all this, and this took me years to find all this stuff, but when I read all this, I realized, oh my God, those dudes became super soldiers because of how they believed being a Spartan warrior was the epitome of life. So they didn't see surviving childbirth as trauma. They didn't see going through the wilderness from 7 to 12 as trauma. They didn't see going running the gauntlet as trauma. They didn't see their years under mentorship of being beaten and abused and humiliated and in pain and hungry and thirsty. They didn't see that as trauma. They saw it as training. So that when there were 3 swords in them, they were just like, oh, okay. And they just kept fighting. So when I recognize that my life, I can either view it as trauma or training. And when I saw it, I said, oh my God, yeah. And I started, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was something I had a process I had to go through. And I started looking at it as training. Now I was like, oh, wow. Because I've had people point guns at me and it just pissed me off. You know, most people are running and hiding. And I got mad. I started running at that guy because he pointed a gun at me. How dare he? But it's because of the way I changed the way I saw my life. Yeah. And you're like the epitome of that Spartan. You've gone through stuff, and you too, Izzy. You've gone through stuff that like I just told you, I couldn't survive. And most other people couldn't survive either. So the fact that you're here, you're that Spartan warrior.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
you know, and I just, you know, I had prayed, you know, Lord, like everything that I've been through, for it not to be in vain. Like if this is my story, let's tell it. You know, let's go help people. There's so many women out there who have been abused, and not just as children, as adults too, and not just women, men too.
Yeah.
You know, because sexual abuse is everywhere. You know, when I first found out what this about, we had a ministry breakfast, and I had some women. I gathered some women to pray over my daughter. So there was 8 of us in that circle, including us 2. And out of those 8 women, only 1 was able to say, it's never happened to me.
wow.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
I was like, I cannot believe how common this was, you know, or this is. And no matter, I know when you're in that situation or you're going through that, you feel like nobody knows what you're going through, that you're alone in it, that there's no hope. But there is hope. You know, and you're not alone, and no matter how deep the wounds are, there is healing. And you know, one thing that really hurt me was when I found out that my daughter wanted to take her own life. You know, that she was in so much pain that she felt that was her only way out. I immediately, the very first thing I did was go to the police. The very next day, I went to the police and filed a report, and then I got her into counseling because. Counseling is I didn't want her to go through the self-destruction road that I went through.
Yeah.
I was very self-destructive, and I don't want that for my daughter. I want her to be able to move past this and to live a productive life. Yeah.
How were you able to get past through that self-destruction phase in your life without counseling and all that, without therapy?
My faith. You know, for me, when I lost my kids, that was my rock bottom. You know, I had been incarcerated. I was in jail, and I remember praying there, like, God, like, what if I can't stop getting high? Because addiction is no joke, you know. And to try to, I already wanted to be clean. I wanted to get off of it, but I didn't have any help because with that drug, you sleep. You know, I needed somebody to help me with my kids. So to me, I was walking down the street, going to the market, and I was praying. I was saying, God, you know, the only way, Lord, I'm going to be able to get off of this is if I get arrested. Because
wow, you told yourself that?
I told God that.
Oh, wow.
Because I knew my kids were going to be taken care of. I knew they were going to be, people were going to step up to take care of them. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was going to be forced to, because I can't get drugs in there. Yeah. Well, I mean, you could, but I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't. Harder, you know, I wasn't. So be careful what you wish for, because I got arrested. You know,
how long after you said that to God did you
get arrested? Not that long.
Really?
Yeah, a couple months.
Said, okay, cool, boom.
a couple months, you know. Yeah. But I wanted to get help, and I remember walking down the street. This is how good God is, you know. I was walking down the street, and I was praying, "No, God, the only way I'm going to be able to get clean is if I'm in jail," you know. And then I'm walking, and the lady pulls up out of nowhere. It's like, God told me to pray for you. What? And I was like, I was okay. And can't even remember what she said, Andy. I just remember that I was kneeling at the passenger side of the car. She's like, I know you're going through something. You look like you're just thinking. I just need to pray for you. And she just started praying for me. I don't even know what she said, but I was in tears by the end of that prayer. And then shortly after that, I got arrested, riding a bicycle with no reflectors. I got arrested, but it did. You know, when I came out, that was my rock bottom because I was in jail and I was telling God, like, what if I can't stop? You know, what if I'm not strong enough? And as I was in the releasing tank, the holding tank to get released, my kids were being taken by Children's Services. And to me, that was God telling me that if you don't get straightened up, if you don't straighten out your life, this is what's going to happen. Your kids are mine. You know, and that was my rock bottom. That was, okay, I got to do this. So when I came out, my mission became getting my kids back, not searching for my next high. And
that's interesting that you actually knew a path of healing, because I talk to a lot of addicted people, and a lot of them, like they say, denial is the first step to a lot of them live in denial. I've heard so many times, oh, I could quit whenever. I don't have to do this. I'm like, okay, well then quit. Well, I don't want to right now. The fact that you knew you needed to get clean and how it was going to happen, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Was it cool I was in there?
The process sucks. The process sucks.
Yeah, it really was. It was horrible. You know, the chill. It was just ugly. The withdrawals. It was ugly.
Yeah, withdrawals. I've seen withdrawals.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's destructive.
It is. It's ugly. You know, but once I got through it, I was like, okay, no more. Even now, like I'm so afraid of, not afraid, I'm cautious about what medication I take, because I take my recovery seriously. You know, that I don't play around with that. Yeah. And I'm not going to let a little bit of pain keep or make me fall again. Yeah. You know, like I went to the doctor not so long ago, and they wanted to give me morphine. And I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. Give me Motrin. I'm okay. I don't need that. I mean, I can tough it out. I just took ibuprofen.
Yeah. I love morphine.
I've never tried it.
I was so opposed to taking pills or whatever, but then when I got in that accident where my back was broken, and you know, on the ambulance ride there, I was just like, oh, I can take this, man. But at some point, I remember, and when I got to the emergency room, they were like, okay, do you need medication? I'm like, no, I'll just give me the ibuprofen, you know, whatever. And the pain got so bad, and I finally broke down. This is my first time ever being on morphine last year, and man, as soon as they were pumping it in, like I can feel like my body, just the pain just kind of wash away. Really? That was the first and last time I ever. No, I tried it one more other time when I was in the hospital. But man, that's a miracle.
See, but there's a difference between back pain and diverticulitis, which is what I had. It's not morphine worthy. Yeah, that's morphine worthy, not diverticulitis. Yeah, that's funny.
Izzy, how do you feel hearing your mom talk about this struggle, this hardship?
Well, when
does it relate to you in your life and what you're going through?
And a little bit, not as much. I mean, there was like a while where you know, my struggle was something different. My thing was, you know, like I said last time, like self-harm. Yeah. That was my self-destruct. It was hard for me to stop doing that because, you know, I think you said last week that, like, I forgot what you said exactly, but it was something that, like, makes us, like, when you hurt yourself, it gives you the good to feel in control.
Oh, yeah, you self-medicate.
Yeah, there you go. So that was my self-medication. And it was hard for me so I struggled with that. Obviously, hers was a lot more, but listening to her, like, talk more about it, like, I'm proud of her, because it's like, if she wouldn't have gotten us back, you know, where would we be right now?
Yeah. The foster care system is horrible. Yeah. People don't realize the foster care system it's more like a campground for rotten adults. It turns out okay, let me backtrack, because that sounds horrible. The foster care system is something that I think it's a necessity, because we have kids that are abandoned or something. So we need that. But the way the foster care system is run right now, I think more people take advantage of it as far as adults, because you get money. Every kid you get money. And they take advantage of it, and they don't really foster the kids. They just kind of give my money and there's a bed and you're on your own. And when you leave kids to do their own thing, it always turns out to destructive selfishness, to just horrible stuff.
You know, there was this little girl. One of the times that we went into Kirby, which is located in East LA, and there was a little girl who was 15 years old, and she already had a baby. Her baby was in foster care. She was still in foster care. She was still considered a ward of the state. She was addicted to meth, and all the concerns and worries about getting off of meth, she had the same issues as I did at 28. She was only 15. Wow. She had the same worries, the same concerns. Like her baby she didn't bond with her baby because he was already in the system. So that, to me, that was like, man, that was just horrible. She's 15 and she's going through the same struggles as I was at 28.
If I could make you like the president or the ruler of all, are there things that we could do to change the system so that it's more beneficial, or do you think that we're okay?
I think there more programs to help mothers that really want to get off of drugs, and I know they have like a family reunification right now, you know, but I think to prevent the trauma, when a kid gets pulled from a home, it's so traumatic for the child, you know. And in my case, if I would have had the help before Children's Services got involved, I would have taken that help. And I would like to, I've always wanted in my heart to create a program where they can detox and the kids will be able to be taken care of while they're in that program. You know, they'll still have to do everything the court mandates, you know, but just to prevent the kids from being torn from the home, you know, that trauma alone is, oh man, I saw my son would cry like, Mom, I just want to go home with you. Oh my God, and I would be like, I'm doing everything that I have to do for you to come home. Yeah. I'm working on it, baby. I would tell him like, oh my God, like it would break me.
Yeah, it gives me chills just right now, just thinking about it.
You know, so if there was something more help to prevent that, you know, not after the fact, but before, you know, where kids can still, you know, try to, I don't know, a little bit of mental health trauma they can avoid would be better, I think, in my opinion. But then again, there's those moms that, you know, or dads that really don't, their addiction is stronger, you know, that need more help, and the kids, it's not a safe environment for them. So, you know, it would require more work from the social worker for sure, you know, to really determine what case would fall under this mom really wants to change and this one doesn't, you know. But I wish there was more help for women who do want to change, or dads.
What about you? Do you think there's things that we could do to make things better for people, or people that want help?
I'm sure there are, but I don't know right now.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of places that need help.
Yeah. I think one thing I've thought about was, I think we should, like, there's all these not-for-profit organizations. I wish we would give more money to churches and let the churches be out there advocating, let the churches, because people that go to church, they're there willingly. They're there because they're trying to do better, to be better. Like if you pay a social worker, it becomes a job to them, and they just kind of go through the numbers. But when you're there willingly trying to help, you put more into it. You put more of your emotions into it, more of your energy into it, more time into it, and you're more concerned about the outcome for the individual person instead of just checking off boxes.
I think in the church, there's more. They're willing to help more because a lot of them have been there.
Yeah,
a lot of them. Well, at least my circle, you know, a lot of the pastors that I know have been on drugs, have been out there. You know, some were homeless. Yeah. They were in that situation, and they found a God who can help. They found hope in Jesus, you know, and that's what brought them. That's why they changed because they had an encounter with Christ, you know. So that's why I think that would be great if Christians were to get more involved and foster kids, because they would show the love of Jesus, you know. The Bible tells us to love our neighbor, and I think they would do if their heart, if that's their calling, because not everybody is called to foster kids, you know. It's a special group. That's a hard thing, you know.
It's a big time,
it is. It really is. And just like everybody's not meant to go feed the homeless and go sex trafficking or go work with different, ministries. There's a select group that would have to get involved in that. But that's something that's always touched my heart because I don't know, just kids are so precious and so innocent. And it's unfortunate that because of our mistakes as adults, they get hurt.
Izzy, do you remember the foster care system?
Not really. No. I kind of remember like living with 'cause I lived with one of my aunts for a little bit, my grandpa, and then I went with my dad. So I kind of remember bits and pieces of living with them. And there's one birthday though that I do kind of remember was, I think it was like my fifth or sixth birthday. I remember I couldn't go home with her, so we spent that birthday in an office, and it was the social worker. I remember there being a chocolate cake, and yeah, I just remember that.
I'm sorry for that.
No,
'Cause, oh my God,
that's like one thing I remember.
God,
I'm
it's
sorry.
just remember, no one's perfect, and we're all gonna make mistakes. And in spite of our mess ups, we still love our kids.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my kids. I tell them every day, man, I'm sorry for fucking up because I know I've made a shit ton of mistakes with them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I don't love them. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't give my life for them. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't sacrifice everything for them. So don't beat yourself up because we all make mistakes and we all wish we could do better.
Yeah. I'm better now. I'm different now.
Yeah.
Once I got them back, it's like my whole focus was them. Everything was them. And that's another reason why when I found out what had happened to her, it hit me because I thought I was doing a great job.
Yeah.
And all these years I thought, okay, I changed. I did good. I focused on them. I worked for them. I worked my butt off for them. Everything is about them.
Yeah.
Where I even neglected myself because I wanted to redeem what I've done. And so when I found out that what had happened to her, that broke me because I thought I was doing a good job.
How did you get past that? Because I don't know if I could get past that. Like, how did you get past that? Someone that you, because I remember him. I remember you talking about it. I remember you loved him. You loved this man.
At one point.
Yeah. That would be just, how did you get past that? What did you?
When I found out, the love was gone.
Well, yeah,
I was
obviously,
but
murder's on your mind now. Yeah, so I get that. Yeah.
Hey, you're not supposed to say that on camera.
But okay. On camera, I would never kill anybody. All right. But did you know 50% of all murders go unsolved in the United States? A joke. It's
I
a
remember
joke.
I asked you, if they catch him, can I have a moment with him beforehand?
No.
I wanted to get a bat and beat him is what I wanted to do, but my faith, the Bible says vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Yeah.
And I don't want his blood on my hands. And I don't want his blood on anybody's hands that I care about. Because I don't want anybody to carry that. And when on Judgment Day, they're gonna have his blood, and that's no.
Yeah.
He needs to be taken care of by God. At first, there was a while there where I was very angry, very bitter. I hated him, and I was for some reason, I don't know, I was just always in a bad mood. Not always, but I was in a bad mood a lot because of all the hurt and anger, and I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe he would do that. I was in shock. I was like, what the heck is wrong with him? Like,
yeah, you don't expect that.
Yeah, I was blindsided, 100% blindsided. And as my faith grew and as I got closer to God and began this journey of healing, like, he's broken too. I mean, every time he would get drunk, he would always cry. And he would tell me about his childhood and tell me about things that happened to him as a kid and what, and so he's also like broken and just needs somebody too. And I prayed for him. I'm not going to say I prayed for him all the time because that would be a lie. I prayed for him twice, to be honest. And I prayed, God, like, you get a hold of him. You have your way with him. You forgive him. Send somebody that can lead him to you. But as far as just take the anger from me. I don't hate him anymore. I'm not angry right now. I'm in a place now where I'm grateful for God that what he's done. He's restoring us. There was a moment where she didn't want to hug me. She didn't want to touch me. She hated me. She didn't hate me, but it felt like she did,
Yeah.
you know, because she had a lot of resentment towards me. There was also a time I couldn't understand, and I guess I'm kind of going ahead of myself, but I couldn't understand how she would not let me hug her because I'm her mom. I wanted to hug her.
Okay, on that point, did you blame your mom?
Maybe when I was younger, I did.
Yeah.
But
Which is normal.
yeah, but as I grew up, I think by the time I was 17, I realized that it wasn't her fault and it wasn't mine. You know, I came out when I was 19, about 19 years old.
2019. Okay,
Okay, so I was 20, about 20 years old, almost almost 20. Anyways, so I realized when I was about 17 that it wasn't my fault, it wasn't her fault, and so I remember telling. Remember one time there was this one girl that was that my mom was. She was in the youth with me, and my mom was a leader. And I remember she was going through some things with her parents, and she would say how much she hated her parents and stuff like that. And I remember telling that girl, like, there was a time where, I did hate my mom, and I think at that time, I said it like in front of you, so in front of my mom. And at that time, she didn't realize like why or anything. But after a while, I forgave her, because it wasn't her fault. It wasn't,
What happened to you realize that? Because that's not something most kids just come up on their own.
Um,
That takes a
I
lot of
don't
maturity.
know.
well, I had them in church, so they had leaders that would pour into them. They had other adults that would speak about forgiveness.
Wow.
That was, and even, you know, the Holy Spirit will speak to you. Even if I hear somebody else talking about a subject, something they say, the Holy Spirit will use that, or God will use that just to minister to you. So I think that within that, even though it wasn't directly to her, I think it was poured into her. The love of Christ, the forgiveness, because that's what Jesus is all about. It's about forgiveness.
Is that an
I
idea that
think
just kind of
helped.
came up, or?
I mean,
You think Anne Francis had a
it
lot
was
to do?
it was yeah, it was the youth leaders I had then, and Francis and Eddie, their family, they helped, mainly them two, and grandma, their mom, and Francis's mom, um, she helped me a lot too. I would talk to her, and like she would pray with me sometimes and stuff. That's around the time when like I realized, it wasn't anybody's fault. Um, and then once I got into therapy is when I started actually like I guess practicing that.
Mm.
So yeah.
Wow. All right. Question number 3. What advice would you offer to others who may be struggling to live life with the trauma they've experienced?
For me, well, I mean, like big help me was therapy, and then finding a community, finding people around me helping. So the advice would be, try and like I think we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
How therapy's not one-on-one therapy's not for everybody. Everybody has their own types of therapy that they want to get into. So trying to find that something like that. For me, it was like baking, cooking. In the community I had the guys, the people in the motorcycle ministry. They've been a big rock, helped us a lot from the beginning because around a little bit after we found them, like, or a little bit after, yeah, after we found them is when I came out to my mom, and they really helped us. Like, especially in that time too, we had gotten, like, I guess, kicked out of where we were living. And everybody my mom asked to help us move and stuff like that. They were the ones there. The ministry's the one that showed up for us.
Wow.
Yeah, right when after I found out I was being evicted because the landlord asked me for the house.
Damn, you just keep getting slammed
I
after
was.
slammed after slammed.
I was broken, Andy.
Jeez.
That's why I was like, how am I going to do all of this? How am I going to
See? Okay, remember this. Don't be proud of what you've been through, but be proud that you've overcome and survived so much. where are your experiences? Where would happen to you as a badge of honor? You know, in the military, the soldiers wear all these pins for all these great things that they've done, and you see some guys have like a shoulder or front full of pins. That's how I tell people our experiences wear them like that. You know, because I survived this. I survived a sexual assault. I survived a gun being pointed at me. I survived this. All this stuff you survived, and for you to be slammed after first you find that out, then you're losing your home where you live. That in and of itself causes a lot of people to self delete, and you're getting hit with all this traumatizing stuff, heavy stuff. Be proud of yourself for what you've been through and what you've overcome, and realize that you have a purpose here. You have a huge purpose here. You know, to overcome that and survive that, the Matthews, the jail, the foster care, the Izzy, it's like, dude, the fact that you're alive is a miracle. So
I think it's my faith that has kept me, you know, because moments when didn't think I was gonna make it or how I was gonna do this, I prayed, you know, and I reached out you can't heal alone. Yeah. It's not a journey you can walk through, and that goes for everything. Drug addiction, you can't do it alone. That's why we need each other. We need a community. We need fellowship. Mm-hmm. We need each other. And God brought me to the ministry right before this happened, right before I found out, because he knew I was going to need them to help me. Because so many times I had the women pray over me, pray over my daughter. It was Pastor Tony, when I found out I was in his arms, that I cried. And like, my daughter, Pastor, my daughter, I broke. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't cry like just little, I'm like ugly, cried, and he just held me. And at that moment, that's what I needed. You know, I didn't need words of wisdom. I didn't need, you know, all this advice. I just needed someone to comfort me, because
that's one of my biggest gripes with a lot of churches. A lot of churches give all this great, like, teach a men to fish, but they give all these great words of wisdom, but they're never there on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. They're never there to hug you. They're never there to cry with you. They're never there to feed you. They're never there to, you know, that's like some other religions, like even like the Jehovah's Witnesses. I studied with them for a while, and you see them out there in the streets, and I'm like, I don't speak bad about them, because they're doing the day-to-day stuff. Like, I remember I went up to this Muslim, to a mosque one time, and they invited me to dinner. They invited me, like, I was like so impressed. These people are just there for the day-to-day stuff that people need help in, not just all these pretty words. Oh, First Thessalonians say it's the Lord, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's my biggest gripe with a lot of churches. And that's amazing that you were able to find a church that was there for the hugs, the crying, the support, the moving. Yeah. That's tremendous.
And I'm so grateful for them, for everybody who has been there through my journey, you know. Well, yeah, it was mostly the ministry that has been there. You have been there for me a lot too. But it is, you know, God has really just, I don't know, he knows what he's doing. And for women that are going through this, that are in this journey of healing, and there is healing in Christ Jesus, you know, and you can't do it alone. You know, find somebody you can trust, and seek that help. Go to community groups, go to support groups, seek the help, but don't do it alone. Yeah. Because you need, sometimes when you're about to fall, all you need is someone to hold your hand and hold you up, you know, and let's keep going. Let's just keep going. And that's why I was struggling coming here, you know, because I had prayed, you know, God, like, don't let my pain go in vain. You know, whatever you want me to do with this, let's do it. Yeah. So coming here and speaking, this is going to reach a lot of people. Yeah. And I'm praying that it reaches that one woman or man, you know, because we've had men that have shared the same thing happened to them. Yeah. You know, that there is hope, and you can get through this, and you're not alone. You're not alone in this fight. And sometimes you feel like you are, when you're in that depression, and you're in that, you feel like there's nobody can understand you. There's nobody that knows what you're going through, but there are.
Yeah, the darkness during those states is palpable. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's not just a mental thought. That darkness, it's almost like you could touch it. The darkness, it's like you can feel it on your hands, on your skin, inside your nose. It's just like, it's an overwhelming, all-encompassing thing. Yeah. People don't realize that it's such a real thing. It's not just oh, I feel like this. No, it's a real thing.
You know, and if there's someone out there contemplating suicide because the pain is just too great, just don't hold on, comment on this video. You know, I'll reach out and pray. You know, there is hope. There is hope, and I don't want a woman or a man or someone in this situation to think that there isn't any hope, because there is. It's tough getting through it.
Oh yeah.
You know, the darkest valleys I felt alone, but now I see the horizon. You know, we're still walking through it. We're still healing. It's a process. You know, but at least now I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I could, okay, we're getting through it. And the first 1 2 years was the hardest. That was the hardest.
For you too, is it the first 2 years?
Yeah, first 2 years, because that's when I had to go through like the really intense therapy and stuff like that. So yeah,
having to deal with the emotions and stuff. Yeah, because people don't realize that our emotions, we try to see them as this is how I feel. A lot of people see emotions as like this not real thing. It's an emotion. But I tell people, no, your emotions are hormonally based. They're actually something in us. Our emotions are, like, we know when someone feels a lot of love, there's an excess amount of oxytocin. We know when someone's really in that fight or flight, we know there's an excess of cortisol. We know when someone's really, really happy and joyful, we know there's an excess of serotonin. There's all these different real chemicals that are in us based on what emotions we're feeling. So emotions aren't this fake thing out in the ether that, you know, you can just snap your fingers and get through. It's an actual process that you have to go through to balance out what's going on inside of you so that your emotions become balanced. So so when you get angry, you are fearful, whatever it is, your brain is dumping all kinds of chemicals and hormones, and it's a real thing.
Even shame, people are afraid to speak about this.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I could start like some kind of an organization where I could bring more awareness to sexual abuse, because it is not talked about enough.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's barely starting to come out. Like, it's barely starting to be talked about. I think they just did that. I'm sorry, that show on Nickelodeon about the kids on set. You know, that's new. It's barely starting to come out. And it's funny because I've been praying, like, God, like, there needs to be more awareness about what's really going on. Too many kids are being abused, and I want to go into the schools and talk to the children about it. You know, I want to, if someone's touching you and they're not supposed to, you know, and I know it's a touchy subject, and I know I would get a lot of backlash, but there's something that's in my heart that I want to do. And if somebody sees us and wants to start an organization, let's go, you know, because we have to do something. We're come on, intellectually, we're at a better place.
Oh yeah, we're at the best time of humanity
this
ever.
shouldn't be allowed anymore.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be this common. And it angers me. It angers me that it's allowed, and the conviction, or sorry, the time that the punishment people get for this.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's nothing. It's nothing. I spent more time in jail violating probation than these people do violating kids.
Yeah. And
you know,
it's so crazy because, like, the time they spend in jail is nothing compared to the years of therapy people have to go through. Their victims, the years and years of horrible feelings of depression, of anxiety, of fear, of vulnerability. Just
fear.
It's like a whole lifetime for what they only spent 3 years in jail for, or 4 years. Yeah, it's
nothing.
ridiculous.
It's nothing. It's nothing. I remember just the other day I saw a Facebook page about a post of my uncle when he was younger, and it just triggered me. But I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna let it get to me. You know, I'm past that. But there's still memories. Here I am, I'm 47. This happened last time it happened. I was 12. All these years later, and it's still a healing process.
Yeah,
you know. But there's always that mental, like, that trauma, that the triggers, as they call them, that make you feel like. You know?
How did you not, like I just talked about self-medication. I think a lot of drug abusers or people that are addicted to drugs are just self-medicating. They take these drugs, whether it be meth, cocaine, heroin, alcohol, to kind of get over these feelings, these emotions that's going on, that's raging inside of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when AJ told you you're losing your home, how did you not fall back into self-medicating?
Because my faith, I was at a different place. You know, that wasn't my life anymore. You know, actually, I was still drinking when I would still drink. I mean, I wasn't addicted to drinking, but I would drink. After I found out, that's kind of when I stopped everything, huh? I even stopped drinking. I stopped because I knew there was no way I was going to be able to get through this without God. I knew that from the beginning that there was no way I was going to make it through without him. So I wanted to be, like, I didn't want anything to hinder the healing process, and I just dove more into my faith because I couldn't. There was no way I was going to do it without him. There's nobody to guide you through this, or and I didn't have time for therapy. I didn't have time to do that. I had to take care of. I had to find a new place to live. I had to keep my job because I was, broken there at work. I'd be crying at my desk. There was, I had to get it together. I had no choice. I had to do it. So between that and, I mean, yeah, and I did. That's when I sobered up, like completely, like stopped drinking too and stopped everything.
So more, it seems like more trauma made you a better human being?
I guess.
Because most people, more trauma makes them worse human beings or more addicted human beings. Not worse, forgive me for saying that. More trauma typically makes people more addicted. And for you, it seems to have the opposite effect.
Well, because I think I know what Jesus can do. I know that there's healing in him. I've seen it. I was telling my brother the other day because he has questions about faith, religion. He's seeking, and he's like, "How do I believe in something I can't see?" I said, "Okay, put a blindfolder on, and if I tell you I hit you, you're gonna know that I didn't, right? If I hit you with a fork, but if you feel it, you know that it happened because you felt me hit you. That's how God is. You can't see him, but you can feel him." When it's different, you feel it, and I've had enough experience with him in the past, enough encounters with him in the past, where he's helped me in the past, where I know that he's my answer.
Yeah.
He's the only answer. He's the only one that's gonna get me through this because I can't do it on my own understanding. He's the only one that will. Those moments when I'm low and I'm broken and I'm crying. I mean, there were times where I was in my car. I mean, there was times even. I'd be in my room crying and I'd be texting her like, "I'm so sorry all this happened." And just like, because that was a moment where I was beating myself up. Like, I should have listened. I should have seen the signs. I'm very hard on myself. I needed to get things right. And I beat myself up a lot in the beginning. Like, how could I not see it? How did I not know? How did I let this happen? All the time. And I would text her. And I would tell her, "I'm sorry, like, I'm sorry this happened." It was hard. And it was my prayer. It was through prayer and my faith that got me through it. I think that's what the difference. I know I have Jesus. Wow. And I know and some of these people that are lost, like, they have Jesus too. They just don't know it.
That's cool. That's true. It's cool because it's true. Yeah. How would you feel when your mom would tell you apologize, and what effect did that have on you?
I mean, to me, I felt guilty.
Wow.
Yeah. I felt bad that she was feeling bad, that she was blaming herself, and that was one thing. That was one of my big reasons also not telling anybody, was because I knew how it was going to affect her. Wow. That she was going to blame herself, and I didn't want that. I didn't.
Did you blame yourself?
Well, I blame myself because I feel like I didn't protect her enough. I feel like I should have seen the signs. I didn't blame myself in the sense where I let it happen. Because no, if I would have known that it was happening, believe me, I would have. Right away. I would have taken care of it. I would have had him in jail. And back then, I probably would have had him. Never mind. Let's be honest. I probably would have.
Let's not say on camera.
More people are killed by knives than guns. That's what people don't realize. More people are killed by knives.
But I mean, the timing of when I found out, I think that played a big part of it. I found out when I was deeper in my faith, where I was, I knew better. If I would have found out when I was not as deep in my faith, I probably would have taken a different route, taken matters into my own hands, and yeah, I beat myself up in the sense like I should have known. How could I not see? It happened to me. How could I not see the signs? How could I be blinded? How could I trust him? How can I, that kind of thing. I shoulda, coulda, woulda, all of that. That's where I beat myself up there. And in that sense, where I blame myself, where I should have been there to protect her more. I should have done a better job, which I thought I was because nobody else was allowed to watch them but him, because I trusted him. My thing is, why did I trust him? How could I shouldn't have trusted him? But he, like I said, he was good. He was a
but
good
how would you
liar.
not? I mean, he's your partner.
Yeah.
You live together. Like there's nothing you could have done. There's nothing.
Yeah, I know.
There's nothing. There's just what was gonna happen once he decided that it was gonna happen. It was gonna happen. There's nothing you could have stopped it. There's nothing you could have short of sending him back to another country or something. But
some of the times I was in school when he would do these abuse her.
Yeah.
I was going to school so I could better the family. I was going to school so I can get my degree in psychology. This is something I've always been into. Helping people. With one broken heart at a time. Helping people with their broken hearts, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was going to school when some of the abuse was happening.
How does it feel to say that? Like, I can't imagine. I'm just me saying someone abused my kids. I just want to hurt somebody. I want to hurt this imaginary person. How does it feel for you?
It hurts. I still cry over it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's moments when healing takes a long time. It still hurts me. I'm not gonna say I'm completely over it. It hurts me. I think I'll be better when I see her 100% better, which is, it's always gonna hurt.
That's
one of the things that it's just not so much me, it's seeing her hurting. That breaks me, because there's days when she has you could tell when she has bad days.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
And before I didn't, because I went to therapy for a little while too. And one thing that I learned is respecting her process, which I didn't at first. I was angry. Why don't you want to hug me? Why don't you want to kiss me? But I would try to force her to hug me. But then again, that was not respecting her healing process, not respecting where she was. Somebody who's been attacked physically, like, you don't want people touching you. You don't want someone hugging you. And you, as her mom, learning to respect that boundary, that was hard. That was hard for me. But I started practicing, Bible tells us the fruits of the Spirit, which is love. I started practicing just loving on her. Any opportunity she would let me love on her, I would love on her. I was trying to be more kind. I wouldn't get frustrated, because before I would get frustrated, like, why can't you just heal already? Like, why are you letting it affect you this way? I wanted her to do what I do, which was compartmentalize. But that was what led me to my drug abuse. Yeah. So no, I had to shift my perspective.
They call it a mass perspective. Perspective is everything.
I had to shift that, and kindness, gentleness, patience. I had to practice patience with her, be patient with her, and self-control. It's another fruit of the Spirit. You have to have self-control. And I had to practice all that. And now is the peace and the joy is coming. We have better days now. Now she'll come and she'll be, Mom, I just feel like talking. All right, come on, Mom, I need a hug. Oh, come on, baby. I enjoy those moments, but I've learned to respect her boundaries in her healing process. That's hard. That's very hard.
You're a way better human being than me, because I was telling you earlier, me and my son had a disagreement, and one of the things he told me, because to me, when I hug my kids, and this is gonna sound impossible, but this is what it feels like inside of me. When I hug my kids, I feel my body healing. Like I literally, like I can tell something's going on inside of me. Like my cells are getting stronger, better. I know it sounds impossible, but this is when I'm holding them, I really feel like that. So one time me and my son had a disagreement, and I asked him for a hug. He told me, I don't think I can hug you anymore. It's gonna be different. Man, I went ballistic. I started just throwing shit out and get out. I just went off.
That's because you don't know how to handle rejection.
Well, from them, I can't. Well, because I had them tell me they hated me, and that was the worst point in my life. when they told me that they hated me.
Yeah, it does. From your kids, they're your world. There's not, for me, I believe you feel the same. There's nothing that your kids are everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's nothing you wouldn't do for them. There's nothing you won't sacrifice. You sacrificed a lot for your kids. You've done everything for them. And but we have to understand they have emotions too,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and we have to respect that. And that's hard from somebody don't you reject me? How dare you? I gave you birth. You're here because of me, but we have to
No,
respect that.
I think more I was just super, super selfish.
Really?
I wanted, to me, there's nothing more valuable than their hugs. To me, there's nothing, I would give my own life for their hugs. I would give anything I have for their hugs. I was just being selfish. Maybe it's rejection too. But for me, once I calmed down and I realized, dude, I messed up. That's when I realized, oh my God, I'm just being so selfish. I'm thinking only of me. I'm thinking of how the healing that I get from touching them, the healing that I get from having them close to me. I was solely focused on that,
Yeah, I
and
can understand that.
so
I can relate to that.
I was being super, super selfish. And so, yeah, I have learned to ask them no. Because before I would just grab them, hug me. And so now I just kind of stand in front of them and I'm hoping that they decide to hug me. And when they do, it's like I'm overfilled with joy.
It is what, just like when we hug our moms, there's just something about, I know when I hug my tia Terry, there's just something about hugging my tia that just brings healing to me. She has this warmth about her.
Yeah.
Man, your mom has always been so supportive and everything. And it's funny because every single journey in my life where there's milestone, where there's been something big happening, your mom has always been there.
Really? I didn't know that.
Your mom is just everything. Everything. She means a lot to me. I've run to your mom for everything. You too. That's probably why I run to you too. You guys have been pillars in my life.
Oh, thank you.
And for me to that healing that I get, that your mom she's a beautiful person. She's a beautiful person.
Well, my mom's story too, man, when she told me her story, man, I was just devastated, man. Just the things that she had to overcome, the things that Nana Weta had to overcome. Yeah. Man, it's just devastating. Like I told my mom, man, just after they told me my grandmother's story, our grandmother's story, like I couldn't, the fact that our uncles and aunts are alive is a miracle. Can you imagine being thrown into a country where you don't speak the language, you don't read or write their language, you don't have a job, and all of a sudden you got to raise 9 kids, 3 selling diapers, you got to find food, you got to find shelter, you got to find, dude.
I still took another one on.
Yeah.
Out of the kindness of her heart. Yeah.
It's like, I tell my mom, man, the fact that you guys are alive is a miracle, It's, and then my mom tells me her story. I'm like, oh my God, dude, I feel like a weenie. I feel like I'm a wimp compared to my mom and to my grandmother. I'm such a wimp.
And back then, mental health awareness wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it was a stigma. It was like you were weak if you said you needed help mentally.
Yeah. What do you mean you're not having a good day? Get up and wash the dishes.
Yeah,
get up
go
and
to
do
work.
what you got to do. Yeah,
that'll fix it. Go to
it
work.
Wasn't an option.
Go get a job. Yeah, I already have 3. I don't care. Go get another job.
Right.
That'll get you through the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like such a lightweight when I think about my mom's story and our grandmother's story. It's just like, dude, I cannot believe the things that people survived. I just can't, and that's why I'm so baffled when I hear people talking about the struggle and so hard. I'm like, all you gotta do is look back 80 years, and you can see in the early 1910s how horrible life was, and the late 1800s, 1890. That's what 110, 20 years ago. People were living on less. Whole families were living on the equivalent of $1 a day. Can you imagine right now living on $1 a day? And they were living on that back then.
That was the price of gas the way it is now.
So it's like life was so horrible and we can just go to other countries. I remember I went to Tijuana, right here, so close. And we were giving food and stuff, and just seeing how people. I walked into this lady's house, and it was literally like this was bigger than her house, and it was just 2x4s with aluminum siding, and aluminum siding on the top, and dirt floors. It was dirt floors, and whenever it rained, she had a little creek coming right through the middle. I was like, and she was still so grateful for this little small things, and I was like, oh my God! And we here in America, we think like we're suffering, we're struggling. I'm like, dude, poverty in other countries is on another level.
Yeah, it is.
We man, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, and I know, okay, this is gonna sound bad, but when I saw that, I go, there's no poor people in the United States. There's no poor people in the United States. In the United States, we can always get food, especially here in California. We can always get food. We can always find shelter. The people that are homeless by choice. If you want shelter, it's not easy, but you can find it. If you want food, there's food banks all over the place that'll give you food. So I was like, man, the poverty in other countries is on another level. So,
and they don't offer help. They don't get welfare like this country offers.
Like in Mexico, if you don't work, you don't eat.
I think in Mexico it just started a few years ago, not too long ago. It wasn't maybe like 10 years or something like that. It wasn't that long ago that they just started getting help like that.
Yeah, that's tremendous. It's like,
I don't remember exactly how many years, but it's fairly new.
Yeah.
Not like us where we've had it since forever.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. What's another question? How has your relationship with each other evolved as you've walked through your healing journeys together? Wow, that's very intimate. That's very intimate.
Is there another question?
Yeah. If you don't want to get intimate, it's okay. I understand. Because I know that's a very intimate question.
Yeah. I mean, it has gotten better over the last few years. I don't know.
Have you felt a change in her?
Oh yeah, definitely. There was one moment. There was one moment when she was like had this dark cloud over her. She was just so depressed, and they had been wanting to put her on antidepressants for a while, and she didn't want to. She's like, no. But sometimes we just need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
She wasn't on them for a long time, but
it's only because I stopped taking them.
But now she doesn't need them. She doesn't. I don't see that dark cloud over her anymore. But the moment she started taking them, it's like something in her brain shifted, like the chemicals that were in balance balanced out, and it was like night and day. And it was like I was like, whoa! She was just happy, just cheery, just different. Like she was having a good day. I saw the difference in her, and she only took them for about how long?
I was supposed to take them for 6 months. And I think I only took them. I didn't take them properly, so I think I only took them for like 3 months.
Wow.
And just that, that little time, it was enough to change the chemicals in her brain. And after that is when I really saw the difference in her. Started engaging more. She started talking to me more. Like when she was having a bad day, she would tell me, "Mom, I'm having a bad day," before she wouldn't. So it's brought us closer. And I think it's still the beginning. I feel like God is barely starting to do where we're walking into our purpose now, to get our story, her side of the story, and my side of the story. Mm-hmm. And we're hoping that, I think with this walk, as we continue our journey, our bond will grow closer, because we're in this together. Never in a million years did I think I would have to walk my daughter through this, or walk with her through this. I mean, there was times, I remember one day I was in the shower on the floor crying, like, God, why did this happen to me? Never in a million years did I think that my daughter I'd be walking her through it, or with her. It's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Wow. This has been one of my, probably the most emotional conversation I've had on this podcast. I'm so grateful to both of you, and I love the both of you tremendously.
Love you too.
I wish I could go back and change all of that. I wish I could go back and protect you and you. I wish I could go back and have that never happen to each of you.
But if it never happened, we wouldn't be able to be here and give somebody hope. I'm praying that this will reach that one person that's contemplating suicide, that's on the verge of ending everything because it's too much for them. Yeah. I'm praying that there is hope, and that that one person is gonna change their mind, and they're gonna seek help because of this, And so if this is the reason why, and so be it. I pray, God, thank you for everything, even the bad. Because if the bad wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If the bad wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have been the warrior that you are right now. You would have been the pillar of, you give me hope for humanity. I mean, it's easy to look at stuff and just say, let's just burn it all. Just burn it all down.
It's easy to give up.
Yeah,
It's easy to give up.
It's what for? You look at things like that and you're like, okay, let's just burn it all down. But seeing you and seeing Izzy and talking to Izzy, it's given me hope.
And you have to keep fighting. You have to keep fighting. Don't let that person rob you of the fight. Keep fighting. Don't let them win. Keep fighting. Keep going. Persevere. Don't give up.
Izzy gave the best advice in the last episode. She said, talk to somebody.
Yes.
Regardless of how you feel, how scared, how frightened, talk to somebody.
Yes.
Find somebody to talk to. And for everyone out there, like, just find somebody to talk to, even if it's a firefighter or a police officer, or, just find somebody to talk to. And people will generally do their best to help other people. It's just talk.
And it's good if you find somebody who has been through it, because they'll be able to understand your journey and understand what you're going through, understand the pain, everything that comes with that, with sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And it's not, and like I said before, it's not just for kids, it's for adults too.
Oh yeah.
Rape victims that are out there also, like, don't give him, don't let him win this battle. You're a victor. You're a victor. Stand in that. You're gonna overcome this. Before we were a victim of child abuse or sexual abuse. No, you're a victor of child abuse, of sexual abuse, of domestic violence. You're walking your victory.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Outstanding. Well, for people out there, first, thank you for being here. I love you guys for sharing, for having the strength to share this and the bravery to share this with the public. Because once it's out there, it's out there. It takes a great deal of courage and bravery to do that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And for people out there, if you ever are feeling like that and you feel like you have no one to talk to, get on any phone and dial 211. That will give you take you to somebody that can direct you to places that you need to go, whether it's self-deletion or shelter or food. Dial 211 and you'll be able to talk to somebody that can give you help. For everyone else, if you have any questions, comments, questions or concerns, just leave it in the comment section, and either I or my guest will do our best to address it, talk about it, and see if we can grow from it. So thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe, and thank you.